What do you get when you blend a physician's clinical insight with a startup innovator's hustle, a systems analyst's strategic thinking, and a professor's heart for teaching? You get Kunal Parikh, an inspiring force at the intersection of healthcare, technology, aging, caregiving, and social justice. Kunal's career began in hospitals in India, where he practiced medicine for several years, treating everything from chronic illness to trauma. His passion for improving care beyond the bedside led him, after moving to Canada, to pivot into digital health innovation and system-level change. He furthered his education at Algonquin College. He has delivered a TED Talk and uses his voice to advocate for the people too often overlooked in healthcare design and policy. As one of the first employees at Trualta, a health tech startup supporting family caregivers, Kunal helped build digital tools and platforms that now empower thousands of caregivers across North America. He has since brought that impact-focused mindset to Canada's public healthcare system, where he serves as a senior systems analyst at the Ottawa Hospital, driving transformation from within. At Algonquin College, he shapes the next generation of leaders through systems thinking and applied education. In both roles, he demystifies complex systems and helps teams and students apply technical knowledge to real-world challenges. In this episode, we explore how Kunal built a purpose-driven career across sectors, why designing with compassion matters, and what it takes to lead change where it's needed most. Let's dive in and start painting the canvas of your career, one bold stroke at a time.
I do the editing.
Awesome.
It's a one-man band here in this.
It's great that you're doing this, honestly. Yeah. I love the idea of career canvas, and that is exactly why I love teaching. It's not just digital health that you teach. It's also, well, what do you do with this degree, and how do you navigate the job market after this? How do you position yourself intelligently, and how do you mix all of your experiences and present yourself as this industry champion that you are at this point? Most students do not know how to do that, and they're not trained to do that, and it's not their fault. So it's great that I get an opportunity to do that in class.
You advocate for different community groups, elderly people, how to navigate the system for their benefits. It's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like 50 years ago, we started talking about social determinants of health and how they shape, public health outcomes and general health quality. And 50 years later, we're still talking about social determinants of health, and we still have not made the progress that we hoped to make. This is a good time to keep having these conversations and keep pushing, because without that, change is not going to happen.
And I know that you actually practice medicine before.
Yes, that is correct.
And then now you're in Canada, and you are at the intersection of healthcare, technology, caregiving, and also you talked about social justice.
Yes.
Or injustice. Yeah.
Injustice.
So how did you move from clinical practices into digital health?
So I did my medical training in India, and it was a great experience. I was, I think, 16 years old when I got into med school, and I was determined to be a doctor for the rest of my career. Fast forward, when I started working in the field as a general surgeon, I was really blown away by the volume of patients. I was working at a tertiary care center, which meant, yes, I got a lot of exposure. I learned a lot, and different kinds of cases, different diagnoses, great opportunity to finesse yourself as a doctor. But that also meant I was taking care of the masses. It meant I had a load of about 150 patients to be seen in about 5 hours on an outpatient day. So all of that to say, I really was missing the opportunity to deeply engage with patients and families and make long-term sustainable health change. And at the same time, something that always bothered me was the paper-based record system. So imagine this, okay? There's a department at the hospital called Medical Records and Statistics Department. This is a huge building with 3 levels. Each level has long aisles and aisles of patient files dating back to 10 years, because that's a data retention policy. Big binders, depending on the length of stay at the hospital. So if there is a patient that comes back to the hospital and I want to take a look at, what did we do for them the last time they were here? You physically go back to the medical medical records and statistics department, as you can imagine, takes days. Like, I don't do that myself. I need to put the request in and it takes days. And you just know there has to be a better way and a better system to do this, because timely access to information, accurate and precise, comprehensive information is what lays the grounds for health data standards. So I wanted to explore the role of technology in enhancing patient safety and overall healthcare quality. And incidentally, at the time, I also found this program at Algonquin College called Digital Health. It just made perfect sense. Everything kind of clicked, everything fell into place. And I came to Canada and I loved that program. It was a really good eye-opener into a lot of different sectors of digital health. I did a placement as a project manager at a home care agency, and then I started working as a product coordinator at another digital health firm. And all of that happened at the right place, at the right time, and I got really interested in digital health. I'm now embedded not only in the digital health system, but also health system reform conversation. And that's exactly what I was hoping would happen.
You talked about the system in Asia, and also you're able to compare how it is different or similar to our situation in Canada.
As an example, in India, we do have a mix or a hybrid of private healthcare and public healthcare. Public healthcare is great for anyone who cannot afford private healthcare, but anyone who can will choose to stay at hospitals that look like hotels, and they get access to healthcare that way. The point is, neither system is good or bad, in my opinion. It's just the implementation of these systems that needs to be done more mindfully. In Canada, if we do have a universal healthcare system, it is our responsibility to make sure that everyone does get an equal chance to access the healthcare system. At 22% of Canadians right now, I think it's Canadians or Ontarians, one of the two, do not have access to a family physician. And that is a big problem. Is it truly universal if not everyone can access it? Is it truly universal if what we define as medically necessary and who provides those services, the continuity of care is completely disrupted? We need a patient-centered medical home model where we go to this one place and we are seen by one of 3 or 4 medical professionals and team that takes care of me and my family. That's how it should be.
Right now, you focus a lot in healthcare for senior, right? So what makes you change your focus?
When I started working at the startup company where I was the first full-time employee, I wore a lot of different hats. That company provided digital health education to family caregivers of older adults. Theoretically, on paper, it makes a lot of sense. If you train caregivers, you will have better health outcomes. But not everyone understood that. As a part of my role at the company, I was a part of many caregiver interviews, and I listened to people and their challenges, and that made me think caregiving challenges are not unique. They will touch every single one of us at some point in our lives. As Rosalind Carter said, there are only 4 types of people in this world. Either you are a caregiver, or you need a caregiver, or you have been a caregiver in the past, or you will become a caregiver. Caregiving is a natural part of our lives. And then at the same time, my mind was opening up to the challenges of aging, or more granularly, how we talk about aging. Either we talk about aging with a narrative of loss and decline. So you expect that if someone is getting older, they're gonna be frail and they're gonna be weak. That's not the reality. Or we talk about aging with a narrative of civic engagement. When you're retired, you're an older adult and you volunteer and you're engaged in the community. But that's not the universal reality. Aging is unique. When you go to any pharmacy store, you will see exactly how we talk about aging, because there's aisles and aisles of like anti-aging products, creams and everything. And the language they use is really bad language. A rewind over time and the fountain of youth, erase your blemishes and power over time. I'm not making any of this up. All you need to do is go to a local pharmacy and you will find all of this. All of this is a problem. So all of this really, really bothers me. I knew that I had found my passion, and that is to work with and for older adults. I really wanted to be taken seriously as a subject matter expert, which is why I went back to do my master's at Queen's, and the master's was in aging and health. An excellent experience. Would not not change a single thing about the master's. I was working full-time, I was studying full-time, and I think I was teaching one course at the college. Through all of that, I realized this is a big need in the community where I can make an impact. And it's one of those things. Is this something that the community needs? Is this something that I'm good at? And is this something that will pay me well? A combination of all three of those definitely makes me think, yeah, this is where I'll have the most fun doing my work.
Like you have the answer for the why.
For sure.
What you want, like why you're doing it, because this is something you're passionate. Why you're doing it, because you believe that you're good at it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And again, the third why question is, it meets your need to make a living.
Exactly. I think it's none of us can pretend that, we only want to work for the social good and community service. All of us have families to support. All of us are caregivers, and caregiving is expensive. So I feel fortunate to be working in a field where I can meet all three of those criteria.
You work now, you have your own company, you're very engaging with Algonquin College, and also
Thank
you have
you.
a lot of speaking engagement. Also work at the Ottawa Hospital as a senior system analyst. So can you talk about that? Like what excites you the most in that field?
So honestly, when I moved to Canada and I knew I was going to come to Ottawa because Algonquin College is in Ottawa, I had a dream. I wanted to work for the Ottawa Hospital, and genuinely working at the Ottawa Hospital feels like a dream come true because it is such an innovative organization. The Ottawa Hospital really cares about patient care quality, advocates for the wellness of employees, and it's also always at the forefront of innovation with digital health. I was so excited when I got to start working with the Ottawa Hospital. In my current role, I work as a customer success liaison with the Atlas Alliance. The Atlas Alliance is a group of hospitals in Eastern Ontario that collaborate together. Where I get really excited about is the end vision that I'm working towards. As a part of the Atlas Alliance, patients across Eastern Ontario will be able to access their health records at all of these hospitals, which means one person, one patient record. And that is the goal that we have been moving towards. And it's great that I'm able to contribute to that. It is a right step towards interoperability. That is kind of the reason where I have a jump in my step when I wake up in the morning, because the hospital does give me that avenue to fulfill that.
Things can get very slow. To move new idea or innovation, try to change the system is very challenging. So how is it like for you?
I'm actually going to pivot to my work with caregiver support and caregiver interventions. Theoretically, everyone understands that it is important to support caregivers. It is not only a moral responsibility to support caregivers, but also from a fiscal sense, if you support caregivers, people will have better health outcomes and it reduces the strain on the health system. Theoretically, everyone knows that. But in reality, it does not always translate to funding for caregiver support. And if it does, it is very stringently tied to these rigid ideas that do not really reflect what caregiving actually looks like. The main challenge that we currently have is category creation. Caregiver support as its own category and not to be lumped along with aging services. So right now what happens, we need a separate pot of money dedicated to caregiver support. We're making progress towards it. We have good momentum. There's a lot of programs offered by the Ontario Caregiver Organization locally, as an example. But all of this is a culmination of many, many years of legwork. While things are very slow to change, it's frustrating. Innovative ideas are met with skepticism. We need to have these conversations because the velocity of this, the slow velocity, is just the nature of advocacy. We're doing something so innovative that we're facing this resistance. And what we need to also be doing, along with fresh ideas and innovation, is also change leadership. We cannot just expect to overhaul things on a Tuesday morning and expect everyone to be on board. It requires gradual awareness, training, education, and sensitization of the public. If we introduce something before that, inadvertently, we're going to face a lot more resistance and it will delay everything even more. So we got to do things more intentionally. There's a social justice advocate, Dorothy Kenyon, who said, change minds first, then change the law. And I think that is a great rule to live by. We need to advocate for the things that we need to change and then introduce something like a legislation or an intervention broadly.
How many rejection setback that you experience?
As a part of my personal development, I have learned to take no's as just a no, not right now, and not something
Very
as
good.
never. Because ultimately, maybe what they're saying is really, it does make sense. With the limited resources that we have, do we focus on keeping the lights on, or do we jeopardize the operations and focus on, innovation that may or may not always work? I get the perspectives of resistance to change, and I truly think value proposition, how we paint the value of a new intervention that we are proposing, or a new innovation, or a new workflow even, that needs to be done really well. If we're not able to paint the value properly, of course, people are going to be resistant to change. There's a lot of things that need to happen in the background in order to make change happen. So when I hear a no, it's only a no, not right now. And it's a clue for me that one of these other things that need to be advocated for is still missing. So then I need to investigate. I'm strengthening the case for innovation and broader change.
We have to wait for opportunities. Yeah, wait for the environment.
Be conducive to change.
I want to say like chaotic, like, when you get really chaotic, when we hit the bottom, then it's an opportunity to consider.
Absolutely.
Change.
There's a law of physics which talks about entropy, and entropy is like a measure of disorder. When we have the right level of entropy, it also means we have the right level of energy beyond which things will change. ENTROPY. It's the measure of disorder. We need the exact right level of entropy for change.
Awesome. I'm going to look that up.
Absolutely. I used to be a huge nerd in high school. I still am. Who am I kidding? And I loved physics.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, thermodynamics.
The right amount of disorder to create the right amount of energy to change.
Exactly. I love physics.
Definitely will look at that. Now you teach future healthcare leaders at Algonquin College. What do you most hope your student will carry forward from your classes?
The one thing that I really hope everyone takes back is that language matters. The first question that I ask to every new group of students is, how would you define a patient? Sandra, is a pregnant person a patient?
No.
Exactly. That is not the sensitization that everyone has. Most people would say, oh, a pregnant person is a patient. And then I challenge it with, well, if you're getting a mammogram, you're perfectly healthy, but you're accessing a healthcare service, are you a patient? If you use a service like 23andMe for genetic screening, are you a patient? All of this to say, right now, the assumption or the predominant thinking is that healthcare happens in healthcare institutions. And that is wrong. Hospitals and medical facilities are a point of need, whereas our home and the community is a real point of care. So when we have a new generation of digital health founders, or people working in age tech, or people working in healthcare technology or informatics, we need to remember healthcare happens outside, mainly outside of the hospitals. We access hospitals as a system of need. The real point of care is our own home.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So expanding people's ideas about what is health.
How can we ensure the voice of older adults and also caregivers are heard, and also their voice will be integrated into the healthcare design and policy?
This is a really interesting question. And there's a continuum of engagement with older adults and caregivers. At the far left, we have the level of inform. And this is where we provide balanced and objective communication through clear channels. As an example, a radio announcement about flu shot. The second level is consult. And this is where we try to involve older adults in the planning process, or setting decisions and setting priorities. An example of that would be having a focus group for the older adult plan strategy in Ottawa. The next level is collaborate. And this is where we're getting more engaging. This is where older adults are heavily involved in the planning process. An example would be they help with the co-design of discharge protocols from the hospital. And then the fourth, or the highest level, is going to be empower. This is where we support older adults to lead, plan, and execute all of these strategies. Now, the thinking is, well, empower is the best. The fourth level is the best because that's the pinnacle. That's where we have the most engagement from older adults and the caregivers, and their voices maximally heard. But at the same time, we have to recognize that this is true in an ideal world. In the realistic scenario, we have limited resources. So we have to do effective triage where we identify this is where empower level is necessary. And this is something where the consult level would probably be sufficient. And we might not have any new insights or any different outcomes, even if we went with the empower route. So we need very effective triage. And then conduct engagement sessions, not just as performative tokenism, but really with a transformative mindset so that we take the opinions of older adults and caregivers really into account. And that happens with leadership. That is a top-down trickle of change. This would be an appeal to all leaders. It's okay to not have, extremely deep engagement for every single intervention or innovation, but depending on whatever level you choose to have as engagement for older adults and caregivers, commit to it, and you set the tone for the rest of the organization. It is great that the Ottawa Hospital really intentionally and mindfully engages the community members. There's a lot of patient and family advisory councils, or PFACs as they're known as, where community members voice their opinions about maybe new initiatives or the strategic plan and so on and so forth. So the Ottawa Hospital does a really, really phenomenal job at keeping a pulse on engagement methods.
Like, let's say sky's the limit and budget is not an issue. That would be difficult. Like, budget is always an issue.
Actually, this might be a controversial opinion, but I think we have made good progress with creation and co-creation and design of caregiver interventions. But we probably didn't forget, but we missed out on one of the key steps before the implementation of those, and that poses the biggest barrier. It is a self-identification of caregivers. If you think about it, if I don't see myself as a caregiver, I'm not going to use a caregiver service or a caregiver intervention. And that requires societal change almost. How do we increase the awareness of who a caregiver is? Most people think of caregiving as this really big responsibility and a heroic act. Like, when I say the word caregiver, most people think about, doctors and nurses and medical professionals wearing scrubs and administering medicine. And it's a very Grey's Anatomy kind of picture, but that's not the reality. When you support a friend in need over a long phone call, that is caregiving. When you talk to your aging parents at the kitchen table and you help them make medical decisions, that is caregiving. When you accompany a friend or a spouse to a healthcare appointment and hold their hand in the waiting room, that is caregiving. Caregiver resources help all across this whole spectrum. So one of the key things we need right now, which I don't think money can solve as much, is societal change. We need to expand the idea of who a caregiver is. One thing that is happening right now is more and more public figures are coming out and being vocal about their caregiving challenges. As an example, Bruce Willis was recently diagnosed with dementia, and his family is coming forward and talking about their caregiving challenges. I have so much respect for that, because what it does, it has a snowball effect. The public would then think, if people of that stature, if people who have so many resources still face caregiving challenges, this is societal change, and this requires grassroots movement. This is actually why the topic of my TED Talk was, did you know you are a caregiver? Because my argument is all of us are caregiving, maybe for a spouse, maybe for a friend, maybe for students. All of us are caregiving to a certain degree. From a more systemic level, we have to acknowledge that, our work life and our personal lives are not entirely separate. When we show up to work, even as a caregiver, it means that maybe our productivity reduces. So employers need to be more mindful of providing flexibility to their caregiving employees, because without that, they would lose their top talent. At the same time, we have the childcare tax benefit in Canada. We need the same for caregivers as well. Why is caring for a child, different or more important than caring for, let's say, an aging parent? I know that the Canadian Centre for Caregiving Excellence is doing phenomenal work at advocating for such systemic changes that help support caregivers from financial and also just a societal perspective. So they're doing God's work.
You have a clinical background,
Mm-hmm.
and then you continue to get yourself involved in digital health, and now you're in advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
You're also very involved in social justice. Quite a transformation. If people who listen to this podcast and they feel inspired, they want to do something to improve our healthcare system, does one must have a clinical background? You're a doctor to start with. For you, it's very instinctive for you to evolve your career. But for someone who are not a doctor, not even a nurse, how can we help?
Actually, I would almost argue that it's better for someone with a non-clinical background to come in and help with systems design or transformative thinking in healthcare, because as a clinician myself, I have certain biases. Oh, this is how we do it. So I actively and consciously need to set that aside. If someone with a non-clinical background is experienced in, let's say, workflow analysis, process engineering, this is a welcome to you to come in and chime in with your thoughts into health system reform. Because yes, we work in the digital health space. This is my professional side, but on a personal side, I'm also a user of healthcare services and healthcare delivery. So is everyone. So everyone has some kind of expertise that they can contribute to in digital health. The only prerequisite is come in with curiosity, come in with an open mind, see how things are being done. And if you have a thought, there are several forums. Chances are there might be reasons why things are done a certain way, but that does not preclude the fact that things have to be done that way forever. The basis of this part of the conversation is honestly not required to have clinical background per se. We need curiosity. We need strong leadership. We need some kind of skin in the game.
For those who are considering to change their career, they have a chance to choose again. So what advice would you give?
I would say if you're transitioning from your career, from one career and doing a hard pivot and going to like a completely new field, that's totally fine. There's a lot of soft skills that are transferable from one career to another. Don't be hesitant to make the leap if you think that serves you better. Where to start, that's a little bit of a broad question. It really depends on where you want to get into. As I advise my students, you gotta assess where your interest lies, what the community needs, and what you think you'll be happy doing for 30% of your week. So depending on that, figure out what that ideal job looks like and work backwards from it. Are there any certifications that you need to take on? For example, if you like project management components, then begin with a CAPM certification, because that's an entry-level thing. If you're interested in something like product design, do a course in product management. Information and education needs to be democratized. So you'll find a lot of these courses on LinkedIn. At the same time, communicate with people in these fields. When I transitioned, I took part in a lot of discussions. I met with people. I have a lot of gratitude towards individuals who showed me what was successful for them, the lessons that they've learned, and what I am, the space I'm in right now is because of everyone who helped me. Talk to people, make sure you're positioning yourself in the combination of three of these: your current and existing skills, your new certifications or informal learning, and your network. All three of these in conjunction will make you successful.
And also, you're doing a TED Talk?
I did a TED Talk.
You did a TED Talk, okay.
Yes, and it's live now.
What's the title?
Oh, the title is, Did You Know You Are a Caregiver? It's as simple as that. The answer is in the title itself. Yes, you are a caregiver. Speaking engagements is a way to translate the research that I did, the insights that I've gathered over the last many years, and funnel those in a way that, number one, the public understands. Number two, that can actually change policies and that can actually make some kind of an impact with how we support the rest of the community. And then number three, as a bonus, there's a lot of good work being done, new interventions being created, new innovation. And when I say innovation, it's not just invention, maybe just a new workflow. That's innovation as well. There's a lot of momentum in the innovation space. I want to be able to share some of the things you absolutely cannot forego. For example, community engagement is not optional. I try to do all three of those with speaking engagements. Do what you love. Over the years, I've learned it's not so much about communication, it's a lot about comprehension. Over the years, I've learned I can be either very fancy schmancy and use academic language, or I can break it down into a way that everyone understands. And of course, at the end of the day, we want social change.
Initiative. Is that something coming up?
Actually, I have been selected as one of the advisors on the Older Adult and Caregiver Advisory Committee for the AgeWell organization in Canada. And AgeWell is one of the leading organizations in Canada that shapes age tech. When I say age tech, it includes everything from smart devices to fall detection devices, so on and so forth. It's great to be an advisor on that because I feel like there's a lot of good work being done.
You have accomplished a lot, and you continue to develop, personally and professionally, and you advocate for other people. We're talking about this is a 10 years experience, 10 years journey since you come to Canada.
So I moved to Canada in the fall of 2018. So it is going to be 7 years this September. And I would say most of what I do right now is informed by these 7 years, which is why I keep telling my students, don't be passive with education. You're spending so much money at Algonquin College. Use that, talk to people, make sure you're going above and beyond with your assignments, because honestly, all of the assignments that I did for my master's, I'm publishing them as thought pieces and blog posts right now. Everything helps. So it's a 7 years of my work in Canada that is really helping me propel myself.
Your story inspired people who are new in Canada.
Thank you.
I congratulate you and I wish you all the best.
Thanks for listening to Career Canvas with Sandra Yuk-Sim Wu, where creativity meets strategy to shape a career and life you love. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and leave a quick review to help others find the show. Share this episode with a colleague or student who'd benefit, and connect with me on LinkedIn, Sandra Yuk-Sim Wu. Before we go, 3 questions to guide any career move. Does the community need your skills and knowledge? Are you good at it or willing to get good at it? Will it pay you fairly? Pay matters. Most of us have families and commitments to support. When these 3 align, you'll feel that pull to jump out of bed. Kunal also leaves us with 3 powerful prompts. 1. Mindset before mechanics. To change an organization or society, start by shifting how people think. 2. A nudge from physics. Change happens when there's the right dose of energy and constructive disorder, just enough entropy to push progress. 3. Changing roles. Take inventory of your soft skills. Kunal is passionate about advocating for better support for caregivers, because nearly all of us are or will be caregivers at some point in our lives. Please support his initiative and follow his work on social media. Until next time, keep painting your career canvas, one bold stroke at a time.